September 1st, 1939. German forces cross into Poland with overwhelming speed. The world watches in shock as the Wehrmacht moves faster than any army in history. They call it Blitzkrieg, lightning war. But this wasn't just military genius. This was automotive engineering weaponized. The vehicles that carried Hitler's army across Europe were purpose-built machines that combined German industrial precision with brutal efficiency. When Hitler took power in 1933, Germany's automotive industry was crippled by the Treaty of Versailles. But Hitler understood something crucial. Modern warfare required motorization at massive scale. He immediately militarized the industry. Every major German manufacturer, Daimler-Benz, BMW, Opel, Auto Union, received government contracts for military vehicles. By 1936, German factories were designing vehicles specifically for conquest. The first major project was the Kübelwagen. Ferdinand Porsche, already working on what would become the Volkswagen Beetle, was tasked with creating a military version. The Type 82 Kübelwagen was brilliant in its simplicity. It had no four-wheel drive, yet it performed incredibly well off-road because it was light, only about 1,500 pounds. The air-cooled engine meant no radiator to puncture, no coolant to freeze in Russia. Germany built over 50,000 Kübelwagens during the war. Rommel used them in North Africa's scorching deserts. They operated in the frozen Soviet Union, where temperatures dropped to minus 40 degrees. Simple, reliable, effective. For heavy lifting, Germany needed trucks. The Opel Blitz became the backbone of Wehrmacht logistics. Opel produced over 130,000 Blitz trucks between 1940 and 1945. 3-ton cargo capacity, inline-6 engine, simple mechanics that a field mechanic could repair with basic tools. The Blitz moved ammunition, supplies, troops, and equipment across Europe. Without these trucks, Blitzkrieg would have been impossible. Daimler-Benz built the L3000 series and heavy G5 trucks for similar roles. These vehicles weren't glamorous, but they were essential. Logistics wins wars, and German trucks performed remarkably well in the early war years. Then there were specialized vehicles. The Schwimmwagen, the amphibious version of the Kübelwagen. Over 14,000 were built. It could carry 4 soldiers across water, then drive away on the other side. It was the most produced amphibious vehicle in history until long after the war. Germany also produced half-tracks, the famous SDK FZ series. The SDK FZ 251 could transport infantry directly into combat zones while keeping pace with tanks. Over 15,000 were built. Motorcycles played a huge role too. The BMW R75 and Zündapp KS 750 were technological marvels with sophisticated suspension and reverse gears. German motorcycle units provided fast reconnaissance across the front lines. But here's the dark reality behind all this engineering excellence. The production increasingly relied on slave labor. As the war dragged on, automotive factories used forced labor from concentration camps and occupied territories. Daimler-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen, all employed prisoners who worked in brutal conditions and were worked to death. Tens of thousands died building these vehicles. The engineering achievement is inseparable from this horrific human cost. By 1944, Germany's automotive advantage had collapsed. Allied bombing destroyed factories. Fuel shortages immobilized entire divisions. Vehicles sat abandoned across Europe because there was no fuel to run them. After the war, these manufacturers paid reparations to survivors, though many argued it came too late. The vehicles themselves became museum pieces, stripped of context. But the engineering lessons persisted. The Kübelwagen's design influenced post-war military vehicles. The air-cooled engine philosophy continued in the WW Beetle, which became the best-selling car in history. The vehicles that built Hitler's army were effective because they embodied German engineering culture, precision, durability, functionality. But they also embodied a regime built on conquest and atrocity. These machines enabled rapid invasions and brutal occupations that contributed to the deaths of millions. They're a reminder that technology is never neutral. Engineering serves whoever controls it. The Kübelwagen, the Opel Blitz, the Schwimmwagen, they weren't just vehicles. They were tools of war, built by an industry that traded its soul for survival, powered by the suffering of those enslaved to build them. That's the real story of the cars that built Hitler's army.